Now, before we calculate the overtime amount, we will see what can be the formula for overtime amount. So, overtime amount can be calculated if we know number of hours overtime has been performed multiply by uh, per hour basic salary multiply by the overtime amount rate. So here I'm writing the formula so that you can understand that how we have calculated the overtime amount. So overtime amount is equals to can be overtime number of overtime hours multiply by overtime rate multiply by 1 hour 1 hour basic salary. So we will fetch the overtime rate. We will fetch the overtime rate. You can see overtime rate. We will fetch the overtime rate from by using VLOOKUP formula from the overtime group names we have defined in the salary policy sheet, and number of overtime hours are available over here. The important thing is how we are going to calculate 1 hour basic salary. So it is not anything difficult. We have our basic salary. So whatever the basic salary we have, we will calculate our basic salary on behalf of the monthly basic salary we have. So basic salary basic salary we have is equals to is actually for the 1 month basic salary we have. If we are going to divide that basic salary, if we are going to divide that 1 month basic salary by 30, it becomes is equals to 1 day salary. And now if we are going to divide this 1 day salary with 8, because there are 8 working hours in a day, so it will become, so if I'm going to divide 1 day basic salary divided by 8, it becomes is equals to, it becomes 1 hour salary. So what we did, we divide basic salary divided by 30, it becomes 1 day salary, and further we divide it by 8, so it becomes 1 hour's basic salary. So whatever the 1 hour basic salary of the employee is, multiply by how many hours he will do the overtime, and multiply by what is the overtime rate. More the number of hours he will perform, the rate will be in, there will be more amount of rate. For example, instead of 100%, 110%, 130%, so he will get more salary benefits and salary incentives as an overtime salary. So, or if we directly convert our basic salary, which is for the entire month, into an hourly salary, we can also do this by whatever the basic salary we have, we directly divide, instead of divide by 30 and then divide by 8, So if we multiply 30 into 8, it becomes 240. So we can directly divide our basic salary with 240. You can see is equals to, what I can do is I can do this, is equals to basic salary divided by 240. So it will be the 1 hour salary. Basic salary divided by 240 will give you the 1 hour salary. So for the basic salary, we have cell F4. So F4 divided by 240 will give you 1 hour basic salary, multiply by overtime hours. So we have over here multiply by overtime rate. Overtime rate we are going to fetch from by using VLOOKUP formula from the salary policy sheet. So now my formula is, you can see, is equals to is equals to VLOOKUP. We are looking this over number of overtime hours, comma, where I want to look it in overtime rate group name we have defined in the salary policies. If we found this number of hours in overtime rate group name, comma, in first column of overtime rate group name, uh, we have number of hours, and in second columns we have the rate, overtime rate. So what I want to fetch, whatever written in the reference column number 2, comma, exactly match 0, and now I'm going to close the bracket. So you can see I have my overtime rate 1.5. For example, if I'm going to fix these values, Control C, and then paste special and fix these values so that again and again my values are not going to be changed. Now you can see overtime rate, I have different overtime rates if I apply this formula. For 0 I do not have any overtime rate. For 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 I have the overtime rate in my salary policy overtime group name I have defined over there. So what else I need to calculate overtime amount? I have my overtime rate, you can see, multiply by number of overtime hours. So I'm going to multiply it. Here I have a multiplication sign. I'm going to multiply it with the number of hours overtime has been performed, multiply by per day basic salary. Basic salary divided by 240. So where I have my basic salary, here I have my basic salary divided by 240. Or I can use brackets as well, before F4 and after 240. So this will give me my 1 hour basic salary after dividing basic salary with 240. 1 hour basic salary multiplied by overtime, number of hours overtime has been performed, multiplied by overtime rate will give me the overtime amount. So you can see now we can reduce the number of decimal places from here. Only one decimal place is acceptable. Now for 0 we have no not applicable because we haven't defined zero. If he is not going to perform any overtime hour, so there are two possibilities. One, if we can define zero in our salary policy table over here, that if uh, 0 hours has been performed, so zero rate, that is no overtime will be given to that employee. But if it is not available in the overtime table and still we want to resolve this issue of not applicable, that is NA, then how we can resolve it? We can treat zero as an error. So if we are going to treat zero as an error, as it is not defined in the table, so how we can eliminate this thing? We can treat all the values defined other than values defined in the salary overtime table. All other values we will treat as error. So how I one way, we have two ways. If else, we have already discussed in detail that how to implement if and else formula. We have mark sheet analysis over there. We use if else formula. We have further I'm going to apply the same if else formula over here as well. As we have already learned the if and else conditions, but there are certain other formulas as well, so we must know at what other formulas we can use. So there is another formula which is named as if error. So if I can apply is equals to if error formula. Now if error formula explanation I am giving you. If error, value if error. So if value, whatever you have performed over here, if you have your results, okay, if the results are other than the required, the values you have defined. For example, zero you haven't defined in your table. So for zero, formula is giving and not applicable results. So it is an error. So if values are available, so it is going to be calculated. And for value, we have the formula, whole formula which we have applied to calculate overtime. And if there is an error, for example, uh, we found a zero over here and zero is not defined in the table, so it is an error. So value if error. So what value we want to uh, print over here if we found an error? So zero, if we found zero and zero is treated as error, so value, give a for a value if you found an error. So after comma, if we have zero overtime hours, there will be no overtime amount. So I can assign zero. If error, that is zero, which is not defined, so on zero overtime hours, no overtime amount will be given to the employees. So after comma, I have assigned over here a zero. So in this way, I can eliminate the issue which I had for zero. So if I'm going to drag this formula, you can see instead of not applicable, I will have zero result over here. That is zero overtime amount. You can see. So my issue has been resolved. The same result I can uh, remove, or I can resolve this issue by using if else formula as well. So I will discuss if else formula for leave deduction or further in half day deduction. For overtime, it is your assignment that how you can apply the if else formula to resolve this issue. It is your assignment. All right. So number of leaves again. In order to generate the number of leaves, we have random between 0 to 1 to 7. So random between minimum 1, which I have defined, and maximum 7. It can be more than 7, but in order to make it simple, I have just defined the 7 number of maximum leaves allowed. Now you can see if I'm going to drag it, we will have different results. I want to have 0 as well, so I'm generating it again and again so I can get a 0 as well. Then I'm going to fix it. Not getting any 0 up till now. Again, no 0. No 0. Oh, I haven't generated from 0. This is the reason why I was not getting between 0 to 7. Minimum no leaf, maximum 7 leaves. Now you can see I have zeros as well. Control C, copy. Now in order to fix this random between formulas, values, I'm going to click over here and click on paste special and check on the values so that I can have the values generated by the random between 0 to 7 formula, and I want to eliminate the formula behind the cell. Okay, now leave deduction. In order to have a leave deduction, we must know the what can be the formula for leave deduction. So leave, 1 day leave, it means that we need basic per day basic salary. So one, instead of number of hours, we have number of leaves over here for in the formula. So number of leaves multiplied by leave deduction rate multiplied by 1 day basic salary. So how I can calculate 1 day basic salary? That is basic salary divided by 30. You can see one basic salary divided by 30 will give you 1 day basic salary. So my formula, first I'm going to fetch the over leave deduction rate from the salary policy table. You can see over here I have my leave reduction rate. For one leave 100%, for two leaves 110%. Salary is going to be deducted. So is equals to, we look up what we want to look up. We want to look up number of leaves, where we want to look up number of leaves in the leave deduction group name data set. And in leave reduction data set, first column index number is for number of leaves, and second is the leave deduction rate. So I want to fetch leave deduction rates, so I'm going to select column number 2, then exactly match, and then bracket close. So you can see here I have my leave reduction rate F2. Now further I'm going to multiply this leave reduction rate with number of leaves multiply by basics 1 day basic salary. So how I can calculate 1 day basic salary? Total basic salary divided by 30 will give me the 1 day basic salary. So here I have my leave deduction amount. Leave deduction amount. I'm going to have set it in the 1 decimal place, and then I'm going to apply it for the remaining. So where I have a 0, similarly by using if error formula, I can replace this issue which is not available, that 0 is not defined in the list. So I can put if error, then simply if you are going to check it, I'm going to revising this formula to you, which I have already used for overtime calculation. When we have 0 overtime hours, and zero is not defined in the list. So the value which is not defined in the list, we start having not applicable, since the value is not defined in the data set. So we will treat it, either we can treat it as an error. So now I'm going to tell you both the formulas. If I'm going to use if error, so if error and only selecting is equals to if error, and this is the value, and comma, if we found an error, so error value will be no deduction. If no leave has been performed, zero leave has been performed, so there will be no deduction, so zero. So you can see we will have, instead of NA, that issue not applicable issue is resolved, and we will have over here the values zero, that no leave, no reduction in a salary. You can see. Now the another way I can resolve this issue is, I can use, instead of if error, this was my original formula previously, in which I was getting no, not applicable for zeros. The formula was not applicable for zero values. So how I can edit this formula I overcome this issue by using if else formula instead of if error. So is equals to if number of leaves, if this is number of leaves greater than zero, more than zero, greater than 0, 1, 2, 3, apply this formula. Otherwise there will be no deduction. So if we get equals to 0, greater than 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, anything, but if it found equals to 0 instead of greater than 0, then else result will be generated, that is 0 will be generated for the lead reduction in the cell of lead reduction amount, that if no number of leaves has been performed, so no deduction, zero deduction. So you can see, I think I have an issue. 04 greater than 0. Instead, I have missed the comma over here. So now you can see, again, I have resolved that issue by using if error, and I can resolve that issue by using, this time I have resolved that issue by using if else condition. So number of half days. So in number of half days, we will again have 0 to 7 half days. In order to make it simple, so we will apply the random between formula is equals to random between 0 to 7, and then I'm going to fix this number of half days values generated by random between formula, copy, then paste special, then values, then OK. So now I have fixed the values generated by random between formula and eliminated the formula from the cells. And now half day deduction is on the basis of number of half days performed. So before I'm going to calculate half day deduction, I want to discuss with you that we have half day formula. So what can be the half day formula? So number of half days, you can see number of half days multiply by half day deduction, half day deduction rate multiply by 1 day basic salary. But if you know, if 1/2 day is allowed, so if 1/2 day has been performed, there will be no deduction. On 2 half days there will be one day deduction. On 3 half days again 1 day deduction, and on half days every 2 half days will give 1 day basic when 1 day salary deduction. So 1/2 day is acceptable. 2 half day will give 1 day basic salary deduction. Then 3 half day will give the same 1 day deduction. On the fourth half day, 2 day salary deduction. Then 5 half day will give again 2 day salary deductions. On sixth half day, 3 day salary deduction. So we have to see that what type of formula we have to apply when we are calculating our half days. So in half day calculation, we can use a round down formula. When we divide the basic salary with our values, so we can use a round down formula, that whenever any number of half days divided by 2, if the number of half days, for example, let me tell you, think this is equals to if number of half days divided by 2, because 2 half days will give 1 day. So we are going to divide the number of half days with 2. So if number of half days divided by 2 will give you a 1.5 value. So I'm going to round down it with 0 decimal places. So I don't want any decimal places, so that on 1/2 day there is no deduction. On 2 half day there will be 1 day deduction. On 3 half day there is again 1 day deduction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply over here round down commands. So round down formula, how I can apply the round down formula, you can see round down formula, then the value, then after how many number of digits I want in decimal. So I don't want any decimal place, so 0 decimal place, comma 0. So instead of 1.5, you can see I will have round down, back round off, जिससे हम कहते हैं back round off. So 1.5 will give me 1, then 2 will give me 2, and 2.5 will give me again 2. So round down, we are doing round up and round down. There are two ways to do the rounding off. So I'm not doing rounding up, rounding down values. So eliminating the decimal values. You can see instead of 1.5, now I have. So what I am going to do is I am going to apply with number of half days. Instead of number of half days, I'm going to apply number of half days divided by 2, so that I can have, and then I'm going to round it down, so that if I have any decimal values, number of half days divided by 2, before it I'm going to round down this number of half days divided by 2, so that if I have any decimal values, it is going to be round down to the uh, values without decimal. And in this way Every second half day will give us the deduction, and on one half day there will be no deduction. On three half days we have 1 day deduction, because two half days will give 1 day deduction, three half days again 1 day deduction, four half days will give us 2 days deduction, then five half days will give again 2 day deduction, sixth half day will give 3 days deduction. So this is how we can manage our half days, because in most of the organization half day is already allowed. So now I'm going to put that formula over here. First thing is we are going to fetch the half day rate by using VLOOKUP formula. Lookup number of half days, where we are going to look up in half day group name. Or you can see we have half day deduction group name, comma, then column index number 2 exactly match 0. So here I have my half day reduction rate. Half day reduction rate multiply by number of half days, multiply by, so number of half days we will have round down formula. Round down number of half days, where I have number of half days divided by 2 to the 0 values in decimal. So here we have number of half days, round down number of half days, multiply by per day, per day basic salary. So we have per day basic salary, that is the basic salary. Here we have our basic salary in F4 cell. Basic salary divided by 30 will give you per day basic salary. So basic salary divided by 30, you can see again on 0 we will have not applicable issues. On 1 day deduction, one half day is acceptable, so no deduction. On 2 half days we have deduction. On 3 half days again we have the same deduction. We have, you can see if I'm going to put over here 2, again we have 20,000 half day deduction, because on third half day there will be no deduction. So you can see if I'm going to put over here 2, again uh, I think there is an issue. Round down Q4. All right. So Q4 2 divided by 2, 1 day deduction. What is the issue? All right. Half day rates actually is changing, due to which I have, for example, in 3 half days, we have not same rate. If we have a same rate, then you came to know that there will be no deduction. But over here, we are not deducting the third half days, but a rate is changed, due to which the value is changed. So on 2 half days we have 110 rate, and on 3 half days we have 120 rates. If I'm going to fix the number of half days rate, then there will be same deduction on 2 and 3. That third half day there will be no deduction. All right. Since I have changed the rate, so on the basis of rate changing, the value is changing. All right. So again, I'm going to fix this issue by using easiest method, that is if error. If error and at last comma, in case of error, the value which is not defined in the formula, you will have 0 results, bracket close. You can see issue resolved. For 0, we have 0 deductions. Half day deduction. On 1, again, on 1 day, we have 0 deductions. Now I'm going to fix these decimal places issues. Only one place decimal is required. Now we have number of late comings. So number of late comings is equals to you can see how many late comings again we have, or we will generate it by using random between formula 0 to 7 late comings. And then fix, in order to fix, eliminate the formula behind the cells, control C, paste special values. Okay, then late deduction. So late deduction again, two lates are most, in most of the organization, two lates are allowed. On the third late, 1 day salary has been deducted. Similarly, fourth day will give the same 1 day deduction, fifth late will give the same 1 day deduction, and on the sixth late, every 3 lates will give you 1 day deduction, salary deduction. So if 3 lates we have 1 day salary deduction, and on six lates we have 2 day salary reduction, and on 9 lates we have 3 days salary reduction. So for 1 day salary, 1 late no deduction, 2 late no deduction, 3 lates 1 day deduction, 4 late again 1 day deduction, 5 lates again 1 day deduction. If rate is fixed, the same type of reduction for 3, 4, and 5 lates. And for 6 late, again 2 days deduction. So as we were dividing over here in number of half days, deduction formula, round down number of days divided by 2. Now in case of late comings, we will divide the number of lates with 3, because 3 lates will give 1 day deduction. And again we round down so that no decimal values are eliminated. So the formula is similar. We have applied for half day deduction. The only difference is that we will, instead of doing this Q4 divided by 2, that is number of half days divided by 2, over here we will have number of late comings divided by 3 instead of 2. So you can see late deduction formula is equals to, first we want to fetch the rate. So by using VLOOKUP, I want to look up number of lates in the late coming group name I have already defined, comma, then we have, you can see late coming deduction. After late coming deduction, what column index number we have, rate of late comings in second column exactly match. So here you can see I have my late coming rate, multiply by number of late comings. So number of late comings I have over here, and I want to round down these late comings. So round down, first I'm going to use round down number of late comings divided by 3, and I want to eliminate the decimal places. So 0 decimal place I want, round down to 0 decimal place. Then after this I want to multiply it with per day basic salary so that I can deduct the salary. So what is my per day basic salary? Basic salary, you can see over here, divided by 30 will give me per day basic salary. divided by 30 will give us per day basic salary. Now you can see again any not applicable issue resolved by using if error, and at last after comma 0 if no late comings, 0 deductions. So now you can see for 0 late comings, no deduction, 1 late is allowed, 0 deduction, 2 lates are allowed again, 0 deduction. On third late, 1 day's salary deduction. Then, and 1 day salary was 2000. You can see 1 day salary deduction. On 3, 4, again 5, no deduction, same deduction which has been done on 3, and on 6th we have 2 days deduction, 7th we have. So the formula is okay. Now I'm going to eliminate these decimal places to the only one decimal place I want. Then taxes. Now taxes are on the basis of gross salary, not on the basis of, either you can uh, have a new column for gross salary, and then you can deduct the taxes on the basis of your gross salary, or you can directly add all these values and then apply the tax as well. So I'm trying to make it simple for you. So I'm adding one more column. We can perform many columns calculation in a single column, or many cells calculation in a single cell, but over here I am trying to make it simple, so that first I'm going to calculate the gross salary, and on the gross salary, all these late comings, each and everything, overtimes amount, and then we have allowances, medical, home, all these allowances are paid on the basis of basic salary, but taxes are paid on the basis of gross salary. We will pay the tax on gross salary, eliminate gross salary minus taxes will give you a net salary amount. So how I am going to calculate the gross salary? First, I'm going to calculate the gross salary. Then on the basis of gross salary, we are going to calculate taxes. And then we are going to eliminate uh, the taxes from all these taxes from the gross salary and get our net salary. There are two ways to calculate the gross salary. Either those values which we have added, and some values, all those deductions we can minus, and we will have our gross salary. Or there is another way, that instead, when we are going to apply all these deduction in already in negative terms, so when we are going to add these amounts, already the values are going to be deducted, but what we have to do in order to sum all these values, before every formula in deduction amounts, we will put a minus sign. So for example, in the start of, before if, I'm going to put a minus sign and then press enter. You can see all these values are already, deductions are already in the minus. So similarly for half the deduction, before formula of if, I've applied minus, enter, and then applied this formula for all the remaining cells, control S. So all these deductions are already in minus. Again, we have late deduction, Overtime was not a deduction, so we haven't applied negative over here. Late is again a deduction, late coming deduction, so negative, enter. Now there is no need to minus some values in the formula. We're going to add all the values, sum all the values automatically. Negative values are deducted because plus minus values are all automatically deducted from the plus values. Now I'm going to sum is equals to sum basic salary, comma, home allowance, medical allowance, and fuel allowance will give us a total allowance. So instead of individual summing these values, I'm going to click directly on total allowance, comma, increment received on the salary, comma, bonuses, comma, and overtime amounts, and then comma, you can see over in the formula bar I am putting comma, and then leave deduction amounts. It is already negative, so it is going to be eliminated, subtracted from the amounts, comma, half the deduction. So it will be easy for me where that I have already defined negative values for deduction. So if I'm going to sum these values, automatically these values are deducted from the total amount, and I will have the total gross salary. Then we have late deduction, and this will give me my entire gross salary. So here I have my gross salary. Now taxes are charged on the basis of this gross salary. So for that, what we are going to do is first I am going to fetch the taxes rate and multiply by gross salary. So on that rate, on the taxes rate, gross salary and tax rate will give us the tax amount. So tax amount, how I can calculate tax amount is equals to first we look up, then where I want to what I want to fetch. I want to fetch the tax rate, and tax rates are available. So tax rates are available. So we will see where we have the tax rates in the salary policy table. We will see that in the salary policy table, we will, on the basis of rank, we will fetch the tax rates. So the tax rate is available with reference to the reference column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In the eighth column, we have tax rate with respect to the reference column 1 rank. So first, in order to fetch this tax rates, I'm going to apply the same formula which we have applied for home allowances, medical and fuel and increment and bonus. So is equals to we look up what we want to look up. We want to look up the rank, where we want to look up the rank in salary policy table, and in the salary policy table where the tax rates are available in column index number 8, and exactly match bracket close, you can see 17.75% means 0.1775. In terms of percentage, it is 17.75%. So this is my rate, tax rate on base gross salary. Gro- these taxes we are going to pay on our gross salary. So multiply by gross salary and press enter. So here we have, and now I'm going to place it on a one decimal place, convert it into one decimal place. So these are the taxes different employee we are deducting from different employees. And since tax amount, it is a deduction, so again we are going to assign a negative sign at the start, so that and apply to all the remaining cells the same formula, so that tax deduction is actually minus. So when we are going to sum gross salary and tax deduction with net salary, we will get net salary. So if we are not going to apply negative, then in order to calculate the net salary, we subtract the taxes from the gross salary. That is, gross salary minus taxes will give us the net salary. We have already applied over here negative, so we can sum these both the values, and automatically taxes are deducted. Sum of gross salary and tax will give us the net salary of the employees. You can see 10 lakh 8 1 10,87,083 was the gross salary, and after deducting 1,92,957 taxes, now the salary received is 8,94,126. So this was our entire salary analysis, salary calculations. That is the entire, by using salary policies, we have designed our entire payroll system for our all the employees. So we will end over here, and we will continue our next lecture next week.